Hello there, all you amazing people. This is something I have talked about many times, made many videos about, and sitting here in my hot apartment after a workout is even more sweaty about. This is the one thing where you can almost guarantee that most, not all, but the vast majority, I will say like 90+% of FOSS people will say never to. And also something that they really block out of their minds and don't really want to talk to. What is that? So FOSS people love to, let's say, be critical about Windows and proprietary software and the whole way of, you know, a company, a person has locked down their code, etc, etc. And they also, to some degree, some more than others, love to criticizing proprietary tools, etc. What the FOSS people seem to not get their head around is that a lot of the open source things we are running today are, if not the majority of time, but at least a big part of that is actually being developed on Windows with proprietary software. Meaning that if those people on those platforms that also runs the same program like VLC and other programs, or Firefox in this case, if they didn't use the open source program on Windows, they will not be making it or developing for it or helping out the community and stuff like that. There will be a really good argument for a lot of open source program that is following. This program is primarily or mostly run on Windows. That would be VLC, Audacity. I'm recording with OBS. Almost every fucking booby streamer and her creepy ass dad and uncles that are doing anything online with video are using OBS. So it's not far-fetched to say that a lot of non-native or non-Linux only open source programs primarily are run on Windows. What does that mean? It means that they're using, well, Visual Studio Code, Microsoft Active Assembly. They're using proprietary tools to give you the open source project that you love so much. Some more than others, some not at all, but it's not far-fetched, and it's something that most FOSS people don't talk about because they don't want to recognize the importance of the contribution that non-FOSS people have to the FOSS world. The sad reality is that for the most time, and one of the main reasons why Linux is where it is today is because of multi-billion dollar companies investing a lot of money, a lot of people's time in developing for Linux and open source and FOSS and all above and all below. Without companies like Microsoft, Canonical, Red Hat, SUSE. Yes, SUSE, Red Hat, and Canonical may not be billion-dollar companies, but they are multi-million-dollar companies. Like, they earn a shite ton of money. Don't fool yourself. And they are doing a lot of proprietary shit. Red Hat, SUSE, and Canonical. But they, if you're looking at only Linux companies supporting Linux, they are the three main reasons a lot of the shit you have in Linux today is being done, because they make money off doing what businesses do and also from their proprietary and in-house solutions they have. Just like a lot of, like, Microsoft is sponsoring a shit ton of money, developers, so is Apple in open source endeavors. Heck, up till I can't remember when, but for the longest time, Chrome and Chromium, which is the browser a lot of Linux users used, was based on an Apple developed technology called WebKit. It's an open source technology that Apple is in control over. There's a lot of open source programs that we are using right now that is either in control or being only supported or massively supported only by or mostly by massive big company and are done on either Windows or with a lot of proprietary tools to help build your tool set. That being said, there is another thing that the FOSS people, this is what they almost all of them will say never. What do I mean by that? Well, if you look at the good old Firefox here, it's a nice little project. I would say that almost every Linux user has used Firefox at one point in their life. Heck, I would say that 90% of all Windows users have used Firefox in their life. So what is the argument from the FOSS people? That open source is vastly superior because you can see the source code, it makes it transparent, you can help out, you can see problems, faults, bug fix it, and so on and so on. Well, this is actually the structure of the source code of Firefox. Firefox source code directory structure. And in here you can go in and you can actually look up source code. If you ask 100 FOSS advocates and you give them this and you ask them how many of you have actively downloaded or looked at a source code, a lot of them will say, oh, we have done that. That's cool. That don't help the project, it don't help the stability, it don't help the security. Just looking at it as we are doing right now, like this amazing little thing that is a C++, if I'm not mistaken, file or C file, I can't remember. It's not important. You can tell me it's a C++ file. Looking at it, do nothing. It won't fix a bug. It won't help anyone. It does nothing. I'm looking at it. Unless you are learning C++, you can maybe learn a little bit from it, but most people are not going to learn C++. So the next question is, okay, we can look at the source code, but if we don't do anything other than just looking, it might as well be proprietary. It might as well be locked down, because if you're not learning from it, we are not modifying it, we're not forking it, we are not doing anything other than say, oh, there's an if that returns something, there's another if statement, there's a constant, there's an if statement, there's another if statement, blah, 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 blah. That means nothing in the grand scheme of things. So you have to ask them this. Will you say that because you can look at the source code and it's open, transparent, bugs are being fixed fast and blah, 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 and found fast, and if they put malicious code into the source code, it's being found faster. So you have to ask them this. That's good. Again, you ask 100 people. How many of you have actually done any of that? And you may get 4, 5, maybe 1% out of 100 people that say they've done that. And then you ask, if you then ask them, okay, how many of you are actually developers? The vast, like 99% or 95% of those 5% say, oh, we are professional developers. There may be a little bit of hobby developers in there. Oh, then you ask again this question. Okay, how many of you are actually associated with Firefox as a project or working for a massive company that is heavily depending on Firefox? Almost all of those professional developers will say me. There may be, let's say, 0.whatever% of those professional developers that just do it in their spare time at home, looking at the source code, finding a bug, security risk, and blah, 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 and submitting it to Linux or to Firefox in this case. So that means, again, this is just numbers I'm throwing out of my ass, by the way, but I don't think I'm far from it. They may even be lower than that. But let's just go with the say that like 5%, let's just say 5% of all open source and FOSS people and Linux users are actually doing something other than just looking and being amazed at a source code, actually contributing to the fucking code. And like 1% of those are not doing it because they have to. It's their job. They're doing it after work because they just want to do it. They love doing it for some reason. They love doing real work after work. You know, they do it from the goodness of their heart. They want to help out. That means that there is a 1% chance, if you're open sourcing your project, there is a 1% chance that someone is going to help you out that's not affiliated with the project. Meaning they are not getting paid by you, or you are not, or they are not directly involved in the project, or are not getting paid by another company that is heavily depending on the project. They are just hobbyists, basically, or users. I would even say that's lower than 1%, but between 1 to 2% of all Linux users, of all FOSS applicants, there is a 1 to 2% chance that you, as a developer, would benefit from the community. Why am I saying this? Who is the ones that are contributing most to GNOME, KDE, Firefox, XFCE was the one I was thinking about. Well, the vast majority of people working and doing stuff in the code are developers that are affiliated with those projects. So they are either doing it as a hobbyist, but their name is on the project roster, basically. Once in a while, you'll get like, Josephine in her basement while watching My Little Pony and sucking on Lollipop would submit a change. But it's super rare now. It's super rare. And that is why if you ask a FOSS person, have you ever contributed any code in what form whatsoever to a FOSS project, most of them will say no. And they will still say, well, I don't have to do it because someone else will do it. Or I don't have to do it because I don't have time. Or I don't have to do it because I don't have the skill. Yeah, you and almost everyone else is having the same mentality. I don't have to do it because someone else is doing it. And those someone else, 9 out of 10 times, end up being the developers themselves that are actually in control of the project. There have been countless of studies done into this. There's countless of white papers you can find out there. And some of them are from people that have worked at Microsoft. Some of them are for people that have worked for open source FOSS projects, and etc., etc. Heck, we even have a really good example of good old Canonical open sourcing, a thing that was proprietary before. I can't remember if it was Bizarre or Launchpad or whatever the fuck it is. The community was angry and yelling and bitching because they wanted to help out. They wanted to see the source code so they could fork it and blah, blah, blah. Ubuntu spent a lot of time and money open sourcing it for the community to do nothing. And last time I checked, the Canonical say there is like one fork of it in the wild that's actually run. And this is information I have gotten from people from inside Ubuntu that have told me this, like community managers, and also information I've gotten secondhand from articles and etc., 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 where people have talked to Ubuntu about this. It's direct correlated to why the Snap store is closed source. Not the Snap packaging format, but the Snap store. It's also why Vivaldi is not open source sourcing their code they have been at. And they just plain out say it as it is. They see no benefit to the project for doing it. They've done the research. Trust me, if a company can save a shit ton of money by doing a thing, they will fucking do it, or they will at least research it. Because a lot of people say, oh, you can save so much money on dev time because the FOSS community, the Linux community will help out. If you tell that to a fucking developer, and it's a guarantee, especially big corporations that make big fucking software, if they can like save hundreds of thousands of dollars by open sourcing a project, do you not think they will do that? Of course they would. They probably will also sprinkle in some secret source that's proprietary, but they will open source as much as they can to knock down of development time. There is a reason why a lot of IT jobs, you know, people in IT are getting fired. It's because they are trying to save money and they are outsourcing a lot of computing tasks and even development tasks is being outsourced nowadays. But I find it so fucking funny that the FOSS people are, oh, open source is so off. Well, the FOSS philosophy is so great because we can look and modify the source code, and that's why it's a superpower and stuff like that. Yeah, it's a superpower if it's being utilized. I keep telling people this. I live on foot about 25 minutes away from the beach. Most people love the water and the beach. So that will mean, well, I have the opportunities. I could use the exercise. Why am I not laying at the beach every fucking day? Because I have the opportunity to do so. I just don't want to. I don't see a need for it. And that is why most people are not contributing to open source or FOSS projects. They either don't have the skill or they don't want to, because let's be honest here. How many people will sit and code or do any job for strangers on earth they have never met before, only talked to a few times on Discord, for 4, 10, 20, 30 hours and getting paid nothing? Are you willing to work for free for 60, 100 hours? Yeah, fixing a bug, submitting that may not take that long. But trust me, most people, you included, don't want to do anything for free unless it's super impactful for you. And that is where you get the hobby. You get the hobbyists that are using Firefox or another program, and there is a bug that is super impactful on their day-to-day life. Like, they can't function because of this bug. They can't do their work. So they kind of are forced to actually submit that bug or forced to fix it. Then calling up or sending in a bug request, a bug report, and waiting for it to be picked up. You're waiting for it for the project to give it a priority tag. You're waiting for someone in that project to have the time and want to work on it. If there's no like traditional division or delegation of job tasks. So it could take 1 day, it could take 5 hours, it could take 10 years. The idea is great, okay? I get it. This is the thing with a lot of things in life. A lot of people, they get hooked on an idea because in the perfect world, opens or FOSS, I will not say FOSS open source because this is more inclusive than just open source. The FOSS idea in a perfect world where everyone was a skilled developer that knew every coding languages and have the crazy brain capacity to understand every coding project ever being made in an intimate level. In that world, open source makes so much more sense than it does today, because those people fix everything in minutes, or most, not everything, but you know, most mundane things in a minute, or be really good at submitting bug reports and understanding how development is being done and understanding the submission process, the delegation process, you know, understanding how all of that fucking works. Like also what like paradigms are they following? Are they doing the agile thingy or the waterfall thingy? Are they implementing Scrum tool work, ideas? What are they doing? They will all understand this because everyone in the world understands development and code. That's just not the case. And I keep saying this to the FOSS people, and it's something that really drives me nuts, is that unless you are a developer that for some reason wants to do this for fun, open or closed source mean nothing. Because let's say you want to learn to code, would it benefit you looking at this source code? Yeah, it will. You can learn a lot. If you want to learn C++, you can learn a lot from looking at other people's work, how they're doing it. But you also need to learn the principles first. You need to know why there is a return here, why there is an if here. You need to understand and know what a constant is, you know, why they're using cases here, and you know, you need to understand and know that why is there something called default and then breakdown here. Before you even can comprehend looking at this source code, you need to understand those basic things. Then you also need to understand this specific Firefox project layout, structure, best practices, what philosophies are they following, etc, 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 which is a basis of how the project is structured and built. Probably also have to understand to some degree what tools they're using, what tooling they're using to build their program. And then when you know all all of that, you can do complicated work. Yeah, you don't need to know all of this if you look at a source code and find, oh, there's a fucking bug in here. This here should have been called, it should have been a capital G instead of a lowercase g, which is not the proper naming convention, but you get the idea here. Or let's do it properly. The P should have been capitalized instead of not capitalized, and it was not capitalized, so therefore it's fucked something up. It probably won't, but for the sake of this one P was not capitalized, all the rest are, and it's not working, you found that bug. You could do really entry-level stuff like this that you learn to fix the first week or month that you go into any development fucking code. Like, you can fix stuff like naming conventions not being right, or people forgot to put a semicolon behind a string or something like that. Stuff like that you learn within like the first month or a year or something like that in development school. But they are also so simple tasks to do. Yes, those things you can do really easily, but those things are also a lot of times not the issue with a lot of programs. Most programs don't fail in simple executions or simple tasks. Most programs, security risk, stability issues, all kind of things that is a problem with any software is because the software gets more and more advanced. They are trying to be clever and clever. They are trying to do more and more magic with the code, and they are trying to do so many things that now a little thing is impacting a lot of small things, other small things, that is becoming a big thing. I keep saying this to people. It's really fucking hard to fuck up print hello world in any coding language. It's either it runs or not. That like, getting it to run and then crash everything, or getting a massive memory leak or something like that is almost unheard of in any coding language, unless it's like a really bad one. What is like called the asshole coding language or something like that? I can't remember. I need to talk to the devs at work. But that's a coding language that's specifically made to make coding unstable and crazy and unsecure. But doing hello world in any coding language, you can't fuck that up because it's so simple. It's so rudimentary. And those things, almost anyone, even people that don't know a coding language, would easily could guess their way to why it's not running print hello world or hello world in a print statement or console line out or what the fuck, or st out console write line or whatever, depending on what programming language you're in. They can kind of guess the way, oh, you forgot either a semicolon, or you forgot to put it in brackets, or you indexed it wrong, or like most people that they have like no coding skills could figure out how to fix that in some way. But like I said, most problems with software is really fucking complicated. It's not just like, oh, we forgot a semicolon, because the developer will figure those out because the program won't run. That's the beauty of coding in today's world, is there's so many debugging tools, for lack of a better word, and checks in IDEs nowadays, that if simple things goes wrong, the IDE will tell you that it's wrong, or the coding language in of itself will tell you there's a type error, there's a duplication error and stuff like that. It will tell you if those simple things that most people can figure out on their own with no knowledge can figure out, it will most of the time tell you that. So when there really is a bug or problem in a program, you need to fucking understand all the things I talked about before to even just start. And that means that there's a high barrier of entry to do it. And that's also why most people that do this shit are paid developer or associate developers to the project. So the whole argument for why FOSS is so great makes only sense in a perfect world. But just like any other semi-good idea in this world, a lot of people think we are living in this perfect world because the idea is not bad. FOSS as an idea in a perfect scenario is not bad. It's actually really fucking good if we were living in a perfect world with perfect scenario, which we are not. And that is the massive distinction that a lot of people tend to forget. Another thing that FOSS people seem to really fucking forget is that the stability, usability, and the security of code has nothing to do with the license. It's all how good are the developers. The only difference between closed source and open source when it comes to stability, security, and all those things is if you want to and you know how to find it, you can look for it in the source code and open source. But you need to be a really skilled developer. You need to understand the mindset of the developers that have made this program. You also need to understand how their development methods are. What kind of premises are they following? And why are they doing things this way and not that way? All of those things you need to understand for you to somewhat beginning to being able to help out. But proprietary software can be even more stable and secure than closed or open source software if it's done by shitty developers. If the open source software is done by shitty developers. Just like open source can be super stable and secure if it's done by superstar developers versus closed source that's done by morons. I've seen both cases so many times, it's not even funny. I've seen people blindly running open source software that has not been secured security fix in 5+ years, and projects that are being developed with so many security concerns that if you showed that to someone just know a little bit about security and how buffers work and stuff like that in that specifically programming languages, they will fucking castrate themselves and despise over it. But people are blindly just using it because, oh, it's open source, bro. If there's an issue, someone will figure it out. And a lot of times someone do figure out security problems in FOSS software. Most of those people are companies that live off finding security and bugs in software, or the developers developing the software. So most security problems that are being found in FOSS and Linux is actually found by companies that earn their living finding security risk in all software of all licenses, etc, etc, etc. That's how they make their money. They find security risk, they ask to get paid out, or else they disclose it, or they do some deals with the company or whoever, the project management or whatever it is. And sometimes they would even fucking help them out. But their business model is finding security and bugs and stuff like that. Those are the ones, if you go and look at a CVS report, I think that's what they call security, I can't remember what it's called. Most of those like submitted by this person or submitted by this company. And if it's a person, it's most likely a person that works for a multi-million and billion-dollar company, or a person that is directly associated with the product, or it's a company that's only business model is finding bugs and security faults for then getting paid for doing so, and maybe even fixing it. But you don't hear that from the FOSS people because it goes against the narrative that if you can see the source code, that automatically means it's better. Richard Stallman himself have said he don't care about how stable or secure a software is. It just have to be open. It has to follow the Free Software Foundation's philosophy. Security and stability is a add-on. It's a benefit that you could get, but you don't really care about it. I have a video called either Linux or Linus versus the Free Software Foundation, FSF. Go watch that video. I have an excerpt where he says exactly those things. Open source or free software or FOSS or however you will say don't automatically mean that it's better than anything else or more secure, more stable. It all comes down to the skill of the dev. And it also won't automatically mean that the community is going to help you fix your shit. It all depends on how big your product becomes. Heck, there's even open source projects that don't even want other people to fix shit for them, but it's still open source. It's the biggest pet peeve I have with the FOSS world. Because if you ask FOSS people the questions I asked in this video, the craziest vast majority will say, never done it. And I know in the comment section, there will be some Andy in the comment section say, I did it, you're wrong. I did it. I have a friend that did it. Or I work with some colleagues that did it. Yeah, but you are not the representation of the majority of people in this world. I am not the representation of the majority of people in this world. All of these things I'm saying right now comes from almost 30 years of experience researching this fucking shit on my own. And not only reading for hours white papers done by people from both camps about this subject. And they all comes to the same conclusion. And that is exactly the conclusion I laid out in this video. It's not a guarantee. The quality of the program depends more on the developers than the community, because the community is not helping out. They just are not in a worthwhile manner. And yes, there may be an odd project out there that you can dust up and say, look, this is a one developer that is getting like 90% of the work done by the community. Yes, but that's not the representation of the majority. FOSS people love to strawman argument, or strawman arguments, what is it called? Like, they love to go and hunt down this one example that contradicts everything else. Just because you can find one example, that don't mean it's right. If you can find a vast majority of example, that will make you right. If that's how the majority of things are being done, you will be right. It sadly are not. So the real sentence should be, FOSS software could be more stable and better if the community, and there is a high chance, or not even high, and there is a chance that you could get help from your user/community. It's however not guaranteed. That don't sound sexy. It actually sounds like, okay, I'm already running a proprietary software that is stable, secure, runs perfectly fine. And you're saying that there is actually no chance of me getting a better product by running a FOSS product, other than I may be able to fix a bug if I want to spend time looking at the source code. And if the developers of that FOSS program are super developers compared to the other developers. So there's no really incentive to like, bro, you can look at the source code. Yeah, but nobody does really. Just because you can don't mean they will. See you all later. Bye bye.